Today we're just gonna see which cookies can solo 1230. Here's a tier list with all the cookies I'm gonna test today, and if they can solo the level then I'll put them in the yes tier, but if they can't then I'll put them in the no tier. So we're gonna be going through all these cookies pretty quick because this level takes forever. For the whole video, I'm either gonna use attack toppings or crit toppings on everyone because like almond is a waste of DPS. So first up we have Wild Berry. And it looks like Wild Berry can solo the level because he does so much damage to stun immune enemies. Wild Berry goes in the yes tier, and now is a good time to look at all the tanks actually. Next we're gonna use Source Water and the same exact setup as Wild Berry because he's really similar. But the thing is, Source Water can't solo this level because like he doesn't do extra damage to stun immune enemies unlike Wild Berry, and also his auto attacks have area attack, so he's meant for like multiple enemies instead of like a single boss, so that's why he can't solo this stage. I'm putting him in the no tier. Next I'm gonna use Dark Cacao, one of the tanks with the highest DPS. I'm also gonna use the attack robe treasure on Dark Cacao because his auto attacks actually deal more DPS than his skill, so let's go. As you see, Dark Cacao's skill does about 100,000 damage right here. But as you see here, Dark Cacao's auto attacks do around 20,000 damage to 50,000 damage per hit, so we can conclude that his auto attacks do more DPS than his skill. But anyways, it doesn't matter because Dark Cacao can't solo this stage anyways. So Dark Cacao's going in the no tier, and since Dark Cacao can't solo the level, therefore Holly Berry can't solo it, Financier can't do it, Dark Choco can't do it, T-Knight can't do it because we're not allowed to activate his skill buff anyways with the 4 cookies dying because like this is soloing the level. Next up we have Purple Yam with a watch treasure, and even though I tried to time the skills, I still couldn't beat this level with Purple Yam. So he's going in the no tier. Next we're gonna use Red Velvet. He deals massive single target damage. Okay, well, never mind. He doesn't do that much damage. Yeah, Red Velvet definitely can't solo this stage. He's going in the no tier. Next we're gonna try Madeline. I already know he's gonna lose. We're still on the first stage with like 30 seconds left. Madeline does a lot less damage than Dark Cacao, so he definitely lost. Yeah. He's going in the no tier. For our last tank, we have Karma Arrow. I'm also going to be using the Slingshot and Robes because that's what people say is good for her. Even though I timed a skill, I kind of lost, but I got kind of close compared to all the other tanks. So she's going in the no tier. Now let's talk about healers. So we know that Dark Cacao does a lot more damage than healers. Therefore, healers obviously can't solo the level, so Pomegranate, Cream Unicorn, Parfait, definitely Herb, and Pure Vanilla, they all can't solo this. Mint Choco, probably not. We can also conclude that Almond can't solo the level because he does less damage than Dark Cacao, and Dark Cacao does more damage. And definitely not BTS cookies, like you can't even solo level with them. For our healers, we now have Cotton, and I'm actually going to use cooldown instead of like the typical attack topping, so let's see what happens. And Cotton can't solo the level. Even if I use different treasures, I probably still couldn't do it. So she's going in the no tier. For our last healer, we have a 3 Ascension Cream Puff. But the thing is, Cream Puff just doesn't deal enough damage. Even with full crit toppings and a slingshot, it's just not enough. In conclusion, not a single healer can solo this level. Now, we are moving on to the DPSs. So, Vampire is actually a special DPS because he can heal himself, and I'll talk about that later. Thanks to Vampire's magic candy, he's absolutely busted now, and now he soloed the level with ease because of the bleeding and all that other stuff going on. Vampire's going into the yes tier, a huge accomplishment. So now let's talk about the other DPSs. This is where it gets really tricky. All the other cookies like Rye don't have tankiness, and they can't heal themselves, so they're actually gonna die to the boss without proper setup. So for every single one of the other DPSs, we're gonna absolutely need to use a remedy for every single one. And we're also gonna need to use a watch for every single one because of overall DPS. And this is actually a huge problem because now we can't use the slingshot, and the slingshot's like really good for this boss. So all the cookies from this point on are gonna struggle a lot. Now let's try Rye Cookie. I guess Rye Cookie can't solo the level. Go ahead and get mad about that. I just can't do it with my Rye Cookie. We're putting her in notes here. Next up we have a 3-star Black Pearl. Wow. And although Black Pearl has extreme DPS, she just can't solo this level because she's not meant for bosses or single enemies. She's meant for groups of enemies. So I'm putting her in the no tier. Next up we have Espresso. He should deal extreme damage to the boss because the boss is stun immune, and Espresso does more damage to stun immune enemies. And it looks like Espresso can't solo the level. So we're putting Espresso in the no tier. Next up we have Squid Ink. And Squid Ink can't solo the level either. So Squid Ink's going in the no tier, and now we can actually draw some conclusions. So Black Pearl, Espresso, and Squid Ink all deal more damage than Sea Farty, Floss Flop, Clotted Cream, Cherry Blossom, and Lilac. So since Black Pearl, Espresso, and Squid Ink failed, therefore these other 5 cookies also failed because they deal less damage than Black Pearl and stuff. So there's no way either of these 5 cookies can solo the level. So now we can draw some conclusions about Affogato. So we know how Rai failed the level, so that means Affogato will also fail the level because he does a lot less damage than Rai, and if Rai fails at the level, then that means Affogato's gonna fail. We can also draw the same conclusion for Sorbet Shark, because Sorbet Shark does a lot less damage than Rai. Next we're gonna use Captain Caviar. He does massive damage to single enemies. But the thing is, Captain Caviar loses because we need to use a healing treasure since he's squishy. If he had like a different treasure, he probably could have won, but you know, it's impossible because he would have died without the healing treasure, so that's what kind of ruins it. So we're putting him in the no tier. I'm also gonna put Pumpkin Pie in the no tier because like, she's a total waste of time, she's obviously not gonna win. Same with Oyster, just like, no way, like, why even bother? So I kinda forgot to include Crunchy Chip into the tank section, so oops, we're just gonna use him now. And even though I'm using all crit toppings and like a ton of critical hits and like a pincushion, it's still not enough DPS. So Crunchy Chip's going in the no tier. And finally, we have Eclair. His weakness debuffs is really good against bosses, so let's see what happens. And Eclair with full attack toppings just doesn't really do enough. I also tried Eclair with full cooldown toppings and it actually performed a lot worse. So Eclair's going in the no tier. But wait. So you know how I said earlier that Rai can't solo 1230? Well, actually she can! So you may be wondering why I did this. Well, it's because 1, I decided to switch out the watch for the slingshot, but 2, it's because I'm bad to the bone. This wouldn't be a real Chiro video if I didn't do a little bit of trolling. So now everyone who says like, oh, Rai can actually solo 1230, well, they're gonna be looking like fools right now, aren't they? Ah, yes. You thought this would have been a normal video, but no, it's actually a troll video. Oh yes. So anyways, now's the time I tell you to subscribe because, you know, you should and I'm evil. Yeah!
Don't hold back for nothing. Yeehaw!